Good evening, everyone. My name is Pamela Rothstein, and I serve as Vice Chair of the Town of Falmouth's Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. We are delighted to host this public meeting, this public talk tonight by Marianne Borowski, who was instrumental in establishing the Cross New Hampshire Adventure Trail. I'm going to open the meeting with some required language regarding the Zoom nature of the meeting. It is considered a public meeting, so I need to read that. Then I will introduce Marianne, and she will engage us with a stimulating conversation about the establishment of that adventure trail. It's an illustrated one, and then it will be followed by Q&A, in which time you can post your questions and comments in the chat. And hopefully we'll engage a bit in what it takes to establish that kind of regional trail and what the prospects are for us to do something like that here on Cape Cod. So here we go. Welcome everyone. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law relating to the 2020 novel coronavirus outbreak emergency, this public event hosted by the Falmouth Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation at this point. Alternative public access to this meeting is provided in the following manner. The meeting is being held on Zoom video conference. The public can view, hear, and participate in this event in real time by joining the Zoom video conference, and we thank you for having done that. Real-time public comment will be permitted utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software. So that allows you to send a comment or a question to our speaker or to me via the chat function. Submitted text comments may be read into the record at the appropriate points in the meeting as determined by the chair. This is not exactly a meeting, but we will take note of your questions. If you are interested in the future in attending or providing feedback to the committee, you can find us at the Town of Falmouth website /BikePed. We are now the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. And you may send any comments on this event or on bicycle and pedestrian issues to us via the email of our chair, Scott Lindell, scott.lindell@falmouthmass.gov. I will put, once this gets going, I'll put that address into the chat so you can see that. We encourage your feedback and hope that you enjoyed tonight's talk. How did this come about? I read an article about the Cross New Hampshire Adventure Trail. I was so enthused by the idea of a regional trail that came together in very little time, that had a really impressive website, and that had a story that couldn't be beat. A person who said, I want to do this, how hard can it be? And who set about doing it. So I applaud Marianne Borowski's energy and enthusiasm and vision in seeing this as a possibility, and her ability to work with various stakeholders, government and local organizations to make this happen. And so I brought that to the committee, and we like to host public events that both educate and inspire us. And so we extended that invitation, and we are so pleased and honored and grateful to Marianne for accepting that enthusiastically, and her desire to engage us in the story of how that came to be, and again, how we might follow best practices to see something happen here on the Cape. So again, during Marianne's talk or afterwards, send your comments or questions via the chat, and I will remove myself and come back so that we can speak afterwards. Marianne has a connection to the Cape, which maybe she'll tell you about. Experience before she became an avid and maybe retired retiree. She was a marine biologist, so has spent time here. So welcome, Marianne, and thank you everybody for participating.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad to join you all virtually in Falmouth and Woods Hole, which really is just a mecca to me. I spent a semester there working at the MBL, and it was fabulous. And then I spent a couple summers working for the town of Tennyson Yarmouth doing water testing on the Bass River and the beaches and the lakes. And so I feel like I'm connected back to Cape Cod, which is just a wonderful spot. The second thing I'm excited about is I love to talk about trails. So here we go. I'd like to share with you my experience, and then at the end, compare what our similarities are, what our differences are, and what we're trying to achieve. So I'm going to hit the share screen button right now, and I'm going to hit the keynote presentation, hit share, and let's see what happens here. Okay, I presume, Pamela, that everything is working right, and we have the first slide up here.
Yes, everything's good.
Okay, good. All right, so the Cross New Hampshire Adventure Trail. Here's a great picture in June when the lupins are blooming. You know, you have beautiful, beautiful ocean down there, and we have beautiful mountains up here. So right off the bat, we have a similarity of the enjoyment of the environment that we live in and how much we want to share it with friends and with visitors. I like to call this and I think it's really true, the first cross-state bicycle route in New Hampshire. And there's, you know, people ride roads and stuff, but this is the first mapped out, promoted bicycle route from border to border, and then some. It goes from Woodsville, New Hampshire on the Vermont border, right at the Connecticut River, across the northern flanks of the White Mountains over into Bethel, Maine. And I would think you probably, I'll tell you in a minute why the Cross New Hampshire ends in Maine. It is a mostly off-road trail. I've tried to make it as off-road as possible because I don't know about you, but I've gotten kind of tired of riding on roads with cars and traffic. It seems like, I don't know whether I'm getting older or the cars and traffic are crazier, but I don't feel as comfortable. I'm watching all the time. So when I can get out on a back road, rail trail, or something like what you're seeing in this picture, I like it. And I think that that's why, you know, I want to promote this and bring people up here to experience this wonderful trance of riding on rail trails and back roads as much as possible. It's multi-surface, so there's good dirt roads, and there's not very good dirt roads, and there's good paved back roads, and there's some bad pavement. So you have to kind of be ready for everything. As you know, the rail lines, when they went through, they linked the communities along the way. You know, they drop off the milk and pick up the mail and pick up people and all of that. And so what I see is the rail trails do the same thing. They link communities together. People can go out and do a short little ride, or they can ride to the next town over for exercise, fun, or ice cream. So a trail like this provides recreation for locals who may just want to do a little bit, and it also attracts multi-day cyclotourism. And I coined that phrase cyclotourism, or copied it from someone somewhere, because these are the folks that like to go out with their bicycle and spend many days out on their bike exploring from one place to the other. So where is it exactly? Okay, so Woodsville, so it's not at the tippy top. If I had it at the tippy top, it would have been a shorter trail. So it's you know, about maybe 2/3 of the way up at Woodsville, going across the top of the White Mountain Range, ending in Bethel. So there's Mount Washington for you for a guide. A lot of folks come up to visit in the Mount Washington Valley and do cross-country skiing, do alpine skiing, hiking all over the White Mountains. Typically though, a lot of folks don't get north of the Notches. So even though this doesn't look like it's too far from Mount Washington, a lot of folks have not been up in this area, and it really is a fun place to explore. So here is the trail, and it shows the towns it's going through. There's 11 towns in New Hampshire that that the trail goes along. Again, like the rail line did, connecting these. And there's 2 towns in Maine, Gilead and Bethel. I can't use railroad for this entire trail because it's, some parts the railroad is still running and some parts the track and tie are still there. So I use it as much as I can. And then I get off of it and I use whatever it takes, whether it's bad pavement or bad dirt or whatever it is. I will use it to connect up to the next section of a good road or rail trail. Now you're asking her, sure, okay, why is she going probably about 12 miles further than the New Hampshire border into Maine? Well, here's a group of friends here at the border, the New Hampshire-Maine borderline. And there is a little granite marker there with an M on one side carved in and an N on the other. And that's really it right here. There is no parking, there is no ice cream, there's no lodging, there's just that very nice paved road back there. There's hardly a shoulder on it. So it's really not a great place to end a tour that you might be doing, an exploration. So I run the route continuing on this road into Maine about 12 or so miles into the town of Bethel. And you probably know Bethel for skiing there, Sunday River ski area. It is a vibrant town. It's got the breweries, it's got the restaurants, it's got the B&Bs and lodging and all of that, and a campground. So it is a much better place to end a route at this point. I will be taking it further. It will go past Bethel and continue in Maine. Right now we've got routes going to Lewiston, Maine, because it will connect there to the East Coast Greenway. And I'll get into that a little bit later. So here's a map of the rail trails in New Hampshire. We are using the Ammonoosuc Rail Trail and the Presidential Rail Trail. You can see again that they don't connect together right now, and they don't go into Maine. So I'm using, like I said, I'm using the rail trail as much as I can, but it's not all the way on rail trail. I should say that one can ski almost all the way on a railroad because it's rail trail, active rail line that's not active in the winter. So you got snow covering the tracks, and then abandoned rail lines, track and tie is still there, but the snow's covering it so you can ski it. So yeah, so there's a multi-use here. I think variety is kind of a big deal in this whole thing. I call it kind of a multimedia adventure. And like I said, there's a variety of different types of surfaces. Here's a nice dirt road. Here's friend Marcia here. She's walking it. She's the first one to walk the entire Cross New Hampshire Adventure Trail. People have walked it. People have run it. People have done, skied it all the way across. And people have done multi-sport. There were people who did some biking, then they left their bikes behind, put on trail shoes, and they did the Presidential Traverse. And then they came down and got back on bikes again. And they went over to the east toward the Androscoggin River. And there they got in their kayaks and they kayaked 19 miles to Bethel. So there's a lot of possibilities here. So here we go. So dirt rail trail. You ride a horse on it too. And dog sleds use it. You can walk your dog on it. It's not really good for inline skating or skateboarding because it's kind of rough. But here's some runners. There's Madeline there was the first one to run the whole thing. We have just a little bit of recreation path. It's 2 miles, 2 different paths. One is paved, this one here, and one is dirt. A lot of miles here, 29 total on quiet paved back roads. I should say that some of these are good pavement and some of these are not. But in either case, the worse the pavement, the less the cars on it. So that's the good part. And then, of course, there's always the problem child of the project. This is 11 miles that's on a secondary road. The shoulder's good, the pavement's good, and the line of sight is good, but it's not in the spirit. It's not the goal of the Cross New Hampshire Adventure Trail to be on a road like this. I have no other choice at this point than to be on these 11 miles. But the good news is that off to the left of this picture where you can't see is an abandoned rail line. It's running pretty much parallel to this road. It's connecting the towns of Littleton and Whitefield. We have already managed to get 4.4 miles of that rail line free of the tracks and ties. That happened a combination of early last year and later last year. And this spring, once they can get in there and work the surface, they will pack that surface down. Now, it's not going to be paved. It's going to be dirt, and it's going to be, not really good for a road bike, but that's okay. We'll take it. And another 2.6 miles will be done later this year or the beginning of next year. Money's always the problem, as you know. And so out of this 11 miles, in planning is 7 miles of getting on a rail trail. So we have to then work at the next bunch of miles to be able to accomplish all those 11. And we'll be working on abandoning that rail line and taking it right in. It will be gorgeous. This goes alongside the river. It goes alongside a lake. It's really beautiful, and I'm looking forward to that. So, like I said, right now we kind of have to deal with it, at least for some of these miles on the secondary road, but we're working toward getting it off. Okay, so I wanted to kind of put this talk together in 3 sections. What is the Cross New Hampshire? And I just kind of told you all about that. And I'd like to tell you now how I put it together. And then once I go through that, it's been a success, kind of surprisingly so. And I kind of want to go through why I think it has been successful. And then when this is all over, I'd like to compare and contrast what you're doing with what I've done, and we can have a discussion about that. So this whole thing really started because I like long distance bicycling. I have ridden cross country. I have ridden the Erie Canal Trail a couple times, the C&O Canal, Great Allegheny Passage. These are, week-long, these trails, 300 and 400 miles long. They're week-long or longer bicycle vacations, just going from B&B to B&B or campground to campground. And I blow my entire vacation budget doing bicycle touring like this. As far as New Hampshire goes, we have the Northern Rail Trail. That's our 59-mile longest rail trail right now in the state. Vermont is going to surpass that soon. This year, they will finish their 93-mile Lamoille Valley, which is up further north than the Cross New Hampshire, actually. The state said, that's it, we're gonna do this. So I like all these kind of the long distance things. And I kind of looked around here and said, we don't have anything, like this in New Hampshire where it's appropriate for bicycle touring. Ride your bike, stay somewhere, enjoy, and get on your bike the next day and continue. So I heard about the Cross Vermont Trail. And I thought, well, that's really cool. We're going across the state. I was, interested in that. And it was a mixed surface route. Same thing. There's a little rail trail here and there. There's some single track here and there. They build through a park or even private property when, with all the permissions and everything. They have work crews in there, pickaxe and shovel. They build bridges, all of this stuff. And they occasionally have a fundraiser. So I go over there, they have a nice ride and a good feed afterward. And that's 91 miles. I talked to them. I said, what's the story? Is there anybody taking your route further east through New Hampshire? And they said, no, not that they knew of, but their mission is to keep going past a trail end, bike route end sign. There's nothing more depressing than to run into the sign, or like here, this picture obviously is not in Vermont or New Hampshire or even the Cape. This is down in Florida and the Keys, but it's pretty bad when you just kind of like have to turn around and you have to go home. So they were like, go for it. And I did. I decided I would do it. If you take the Cross Vermont, you connect it with the Cross New Hampshire, kind of the light bulb, heck, you've got this connection. It's about 174 miles together. And I thought this would be attractive for those of us that like the 300-mile of, journey, the 100-mile journey, that stay overnight a couple places, that kind of thing. That maybe I could share my love of touring on a bicycle and my love of the area around here and the beauty of this area with others. So that's how it kind of started. I copied the Cross Vermont people as much as I could. The website is similar. The way, crossvermont.org, crossnewhampshire.org, all this kind of stuff, our signs and everything. But I did one thing that was different. I put the word adventure in there. So it's a Cross New Hampshire Adventure Trail. And this slide kind of shows the reason. It really, really started as apologetic. Because there's adventures along the way. Some of them here in the photographs. Things wash out, flooding happens right there in the middle and the bottom where the people are standing there with the reflection in the water. The river is behind them. You can just about see it. The river is probably 3 or 4 feet below the surface of this road. So anytime there's a big storm, the river goes over the road and it makes it wet. It also deposits stones on it. So, I mean, there is an adventure. There's a section, up here, we're probably better known for snowmobiling and ATVs than we are for bicycling or cross-country skiing, especially above the notches, right? So some of these trails, some of the miles are shared with HAVs. And that's just, it's part of the adventure. The rail trail is allowed for pedestrians, horses, dog sleds, ATVs, dirt bikes, bicycles, all of that, and we all share it. So there's some adventure involved with that because they dig up the trail, but that's just part of what we deal with. So contrasting to the Cross Vermont Trail, this project is not really a construction project. I'm not out there trying to build some connector trail or a new road or something like that. I guess if I'm doing anything, I'm working on trying to extend the rail trails. But really, at the start of this whole thing, and right through to now, it's mainly an information project. The route is there. It uses rail trails. It uses existing roads. There's some private roads in there, and I got some, from the power company, a couple of loggers, forest tree farm kind of things, and got permission to use those. But basically, if I mapped it out and said you go from here to here, everything was okay. There's no blocks, no impediments. I made the map and went for it. So how do you get this information, out to people? Well, you need to source some funding. And I started to do that. I needed a website because that's what you need to do these days. And I decided I needed a brochure too. So you have the new way and the older way. But the brochures really worked for me because I could put them in the bike shops. I could put them at lodgings. I could put them in town information places. And I could go to an inn, a lodging, and talk about bicycles and bike touring. And I had this nice brochure to give them. It just seemed like a good way of introducing this trail to people who never really thought of cyclists coming through. So that was the start. And the funding also went to making a map. I'm a map person. I love maps. I want to have a real map in my hands that feels good, that I can look at, and I can spread it out and look at the whole thing. I also know that Garmin's and other GPS devices are the way to go. I know that maps online are the way to go. So I did all of that. I commissioned Larry Garland, who's the cartographer for the Appalachian Mountain Club, to do these maps for me. I like his maps. If any of you have ever hiked up here in the White Mountains, you've used a map from Larry Garland. He's done all kinds of maps around here, everything for the AMC and more. And he was the one that suggested where to get them printed on weatherproof paper. It's a 7-panel fold-out map. It's this, huge thing. It has all the details on it, where the lodgings are, where's the campground, where's the parking, where's the day parking, where can I park if I'm going to spend 3 days on the trail. I need to park my car somewhere 3 days that the police aren't going to think it's abandoned and just tow it away. So I worked all that out with the police departments. I've got that all in the map. Where's a grocery store? There's some places in here where you're going to be biking for a lot of miles, and you may be going through a town, but you're not going through the center of town. You're going through some far off corner of the town. So you need to be prepared with water and food to get you, 25 miles or so. You might not see anything. So the map has that kind of information on it. And all of this is also on the website, including downloadable map and downloadable ride with GPS, so that you can download it onto your Garmin, or actually you can download it right on your iPhone. And it will tell you every cue. So it'll say, right turn coming up, take a right turn here. And this is actually pretty good. Of course, that works really well until your battery runs out. So that's why I always kind of say, have the paper map with you also, because you don't want to get lost out there. Part of the wayfaring thing, besides a map, is having some signs along the way. So I don't have signage everywhere because there's issues. You can't put signs on state roads or federal roads because you can, but you have to read a booklet, an inch thick with all the regulations and how it's got to be. And the same issue on the rail trails because they're state owned. But on the private roads and town roads, I can put signs up. So I'm working on getting them further out there, but that's not done yet. I also put together bling, the swag stuff here. Everybody loves stickers. So I have Cross New Hampshire Adventure Trail sticker. I put together one that matches the Cross Vermont Trail. And, we still kind of work together. So I want people to do the Cross Vermont Trail. I want them to do both. So by having this sticker, it kind of shows that we work together here. It's kind of fun. The little bicycle paper clips. Oh my goodness. They're, you get a bag of a few hundred of them. They're just so cute and people just love them. Silly things like that. And then of course, the biggest deal is that patch. The patch is a special award for those that have gone end to end. And you can do it end to end in a day. There's quite a few folks who do that. There's one that did it end to end and then did it back in one day. You can take 5 days to do it. You can work on it all summer and just do little pieces. It doesn't matter whether you walked it or skied it, rode a horse, whatever it is, you get a patch for finishing end to end. And it's sort of amazing what people do for a patch or lists. I'm kind of a list person too, the 4,000 footers and the 100 highest and all that stuff. I will give me a list or a patch and I'll go for it. And there's quite a few people out there who are like me. Then I think one of the biggest things that really got this going was commissioning someone who knows how to write and someone who's well known in the bicycle touring world. And it happened to be Marty Bash. He lives close to me. He writes for our local paper and other papers in New Hampshire. Occasionally his articles go into the Boston Globe. Through the grant funding that I received, I commissioned him and his wife, Jan, who's a great chef in a restaurant around here, to ride the trail. So I paid for their lodging. I paid, extra for their food. I said, go enjoy the trail. Tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to hear all about it and write about it to your heart's delight. And he did. And oh my gosh, I think the fact that it was a COVID year at the time, this information got out there and people just flocked. I look at it as they flocked to it because I think people needed to get out. I think people needed an adventure. And I had 2 trips planned that year. Both of them were canceled because of COVID. And if you're in New England or in New York, really wasn't that far to drive up to New Hampshire here and have some new experience. So it went around to the local papers and it went to the NPR radio station up here. New England Ski Journal, Rails to Trails magazine. Now that's national. And then Windows to the Wild, which is like a chronicle kind of show that we have up here in New Hampshire. And then, of course, as Pamela mentioned, Yankee Magazine. That was a really big deal. And my trail became the centerfold of Yankee Magazine. So there it is. And that's the Presidential Rail Trail in Randolph. And those are beaver ponds there. And if you're lucky, you get to see the beaver working. The beavers have also done things like flood the trail and cause some issues, but we've got them pretty much in control now. It's great to have them out there. So this is the shipping and receiving, or I should say the shipping department, which was me for a long time. And now I have actually formed a board. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We have a board of 6 of us, and all is going well. And I have people who help out with this mailing. Anybody who wants a map can just email request it, and we send it out. I send it out for free. I don't want anyone to pay for any of this. I want them to just have the information. The idea is to bring them up here, to bring some business up here. And if I put, like $2 or $4 or whatever it is, I think that's just an impediment. So you want a map, you send me your address, and a map goes in, and you get stickers, and you get bicycle paper clips and all this crazy stuff. And people love it. And I just sort of feel like it's nice to go to the mailbox and have some fun stuff to open up. Others must think the same. As you can see, the statistics there. When I first started this, it was kind of the end of 2018. You can see that 2019, we had the intrepid, the daredevils that go out and try something new. And nobody has done it before. And then 2020 with the COVID thing, you can see the huge jump. The shipping and receiving department was pretty busy there for a while. And this last year, it went up again. Right now, we have sent out, it was the total, it's like over 200 of these stuffed envelopes up until the beginning of March. And that's ahead of last year's rate. So we get a lot of interest. 42 states and 4 countries have had mailings sent to them. Okay, so along with that funding, and that funding, by the way, that was $13,620 that I received from an organization that promotes business development and community health and wellness and all this up in the North Country of New Hampshire, Vermont, Northern New York, Southern Quebec, and Western Maine, the Tillotson Fund, which is part of the New Hampshire Charitable Organization. So I was really lucky to get that. That really sparked this because, as I said, as an information project, I needed to get the information out, and that allowed me to do it. Okay, so another project that we were involved with that I got another grant to support is the North Country Welcomes Bicyclists. I'm sure you've all seen signs like this, welcome bikers, it's on the local bar, and typically I think that the bikers they're welcoming are not probably the ones that are in, bike shorts and Lycra and on these kind of bikes. But I think they're going to learn that we also enjoy a beer after our bike or during our biking, and that we go to restaurants and we stay in the lodgings too. My experiences as in traveling in Southern Quebec, they have a program called Bienvenue Cycliste, which is, welcome cyclists. And on their maps, they show where the lodgings are that are welcoming to cyclists. And a lodging welcome to cyclists is going to have a place for me to put my bike, either in my room or in their barn or in the basement or in a shed. It's going to be locked in there. It's going to be safe. It's going to be dry. That's a really big deal when you're traveling by bike. They would have maybe a pump in case I needed a pump with a gauge, some real tools, because a traveling cyclist will carry little tools and a little pump, but it's nice to have a big one. And they will be welcoming because I might show up as a muddy mess, wet and cold, and they will be okay with that. They understand. They'll have information for me. I can't drive 10 miles to a restaurant after I've just ridden 50 miles in the rain. So we've arranged things like a list of drivers who will pick up your dinner somewhere and bring it and deliver to the motel. We don't really have Uber kind of stuff up here. But there's people that need to make a little bit of money. And so they're, for 20 bucks, they'll deliver from whatever restaurant you want. So we're working on that program. We've got the Darrow bike fix-it stations at a variety of places. This particular one is a campground, which is very popular with the bicycle tourists on the trail because it's about the halfway point. And there's a little camp store there for your Dinty Moore stew and a beer and a Coke and a Dixie cup, and that's all just great when you're biking. So I noticed that you also have Darrow Fix-It Station, nice there in the sunshine. And I was showing you what one of ours looked like in Gorham this winter. Just so you know, I guess they guarantee them down to -30. We will be testing these out. We've had enough snow melt now. We can go in and see if they still work. Because I think in some of the places up there in Gorham, Jefferson, Randolph, the temperature did go below that this winter. So we'll see if the pumps still work after all of that. We've scattered them around along the route. Right now, we have 9 businesses in towns with these Darrow Fix-It stations. It could be in a town park, or like that one I showed you was at a campground. And we also have provided businesses with toolkits. It's like a burrito bag, roll-up toolkit and a pump. So for example, these 2 folks here typically shuttle hikers, and they shuttle people to the airport or to the bus station or to the medical appointments. Well, now they have a new thing to do. They shuttle bicycles. And one of them, Dan here, the one on the right, he's bought now an SUV, and he's got a trailer because sometimes there's 7 people who want to travel and sometimes there's 10, and he can't do that in his little car. So these shuttle services are expanding. So I feel like we've increased some little bit of the business opportunities up north. Okay, so it's been a success. Why is there interest in this route? And we've talked a little bit about this already. And just kind of I'll go down the list and show you some pictures along the way. Again, I think one of the keys is that a lot of folks, I can't say everyone, but a lot of folks do prefer to be on a quiet road or a dirt road and getting away from the busy roads. And we're not too far away from having the entire route off of a busy road. So we're getting there, but I'd rather be on a road like this, even with the rocks and some bumps and flooding, than on a busy road where I have to watch out for trucks. Another thing I think that's important is that there's rails to trails, a rail trail. Rail trails are great. They are, off the road, everything. They're scenic. I look at them as linear museums of railroad memorabilia. These bridges are fascinating. The switches, the telegraph poles, some of them up here still have the glass insulators on top. There's all kinds of different warning signs and flange signs and granite mileage markers, hand carved, all this stuff up here. So as you bike along and you're kind of going along and you're going through the woods, eventually you go along the river, and eventually you see these mileage markers and things along the way. These big old beautiful bridges. It's just wonderful that they can still do something. They can support us as we bike or walk or ski, or if some people with snowmobiles, a lot of snowmobiling on these trails in the winter, or ATVs, that they're still being used for something. It's a classic covered bridge. It's the classic North Country kind of stuff. And what a great way to see it by the rail trail. This is I threw this in. This is what I call the uncovered covered bridge. They've covered the important parts, but a train used to go through here. And although there are some covered bridges that are tall enough to, built so trains will go through, this one they didn't bother with a roof. They just covered the important part, the structural part of the bridge structure, and there it is. This is the last one that is still functional. It's still doing its job in its original place. Another reason why this route took off is the interest in gravel bike, all road bike, gravel bike. You can ride dirt, you can ride pavement, whether it's good or bad, bounce all along, and you can carry your gear. So you can have your gear for the day, your food and your extra clothes, or you can carry your gear to stay overnight, to camp, whether it's credit card touring, going to a motel or going to a campground. The bike is, you can do it. And, this has been, I don't know, it's a wanderlust or something, maybe with the bicycles, what it is, but here's 1890. They're all packed up on their penny farthings there. And these guys, that says they're going from someplace in Illinois to St. Louis. And one of them went around the world. I think both of them had done cross country. So it's not something new. This bike packing thing, it's just given a new name. Just traveling with your packs on your bike instead of on your back. I think the word adventure, although it started off as being apologetic, is probably key on this, because I think people are willing to stretch their limits, push their limits a bit, and do something for fun, see how it goes. And we certainly have some of that kind of stuff, but it's like the we factor or something to go out there and have some fun. Another reason, like I said before, people will do anything for a patch. I think this is a father and his 11-year-old son. He was, at the time, he was the youngest to do it. I've got a 5-year-old that's got a patch. Can you believe that? Yeah, 5. So more patches, it's a big deal. Here's Marcia. She walked it and she finished her walk before her 75th birthday. And she's part of the New Hampshire Adaptive Sports Program. And she did it. She did it about 5 or 6 miles a day. Another issue is that brings people in is enjoying the experience. And up here, you enjoy the experience of the North Country, the mountains, the history, the railroad history, the rivers. Your experience there is, just as beautiful. The ocean being right there, and the marine environment, the nautical theme. So, you're biking along and there's just these different places, just, here's dog sleds. There's a dog sled place. They run the dogs and train them, during the whole year. They can't do it in hot weather, but what a cool thing to be riding along and to meet a dog sled. And then here, here's a great way to see the White Mountains. There's Mount Washington there on the right. And the north side is kind of a different view of it. And these folks are standing right near a beaver pond, which has active beavers in it. So you can sit there on that rock and enjoy the mountains and enjoy the wildlife too. And I think the thing that probably is the most important thing for us here is our connectivity. The red line is across Vermont, across New Hampshire, and you can see how it kind of connects up to the East Coast Greenway there in green, and the trail system of New York, which is the Empire State Trail System. This is a 750-mile system, including the Erie Canal Trail, and then New York up to the Quebec border. Not all of it is on canal or rail trail, but it's a marked route on quiet back roads, again, doing whatever they could to link it all together. There's our connection to it. And so if you just get off the Cross Vermont Trail and get on the ferry boat across Lake Champlain, you get off the boat, you're on the Empire State. And here is the entire system here. They're going for rail trail, or this is East Coast Greenway. They're going for off-road, doesn't have to be rail trail, off-road for 3,000 miles, and they're 33% there. You've probably heard about the Great American Rail Trail through the Rail Trails Conservancy. This is 3,700 miles. They are 52% complete. So you can get on your bike in Washington, DC, ride to Washington State, mostly done in the eastern part. And you can see those dotted lines is kind of not quite there yet, but they're working on it. And we can connect to that. So can you, by East Coast Greenway, and for us, going across New York on the Erie Canal Trail. And there you are, okay? You are considered a 138 spine route miles there on Cape Cod. And I don't see the connection there to Falmouth yet, but I could see where you could very well be, because you would connect this spine to another spine, bringing down people into the Falmouth area, Woods Hole, and the islands too. I did see on a website here, your Vision 88, and I would love to hear more about it, but this is the beauty of connectivity. I see where you're trying to link everything together. So you have an adventure going from one end of the Cape all the way to the other, and with the ferry boat going back to Boston and everything, and the East Coast Greenway, you just have this big, huge loop. One of the words that I've seen used, or phrases I've seen used lately, is destination corridor. Attracting people to a destination, corridor or loop or whatever. And you have the bones of that right here. I was going to just do a little comparison thing here. And this is, I want to discuss this because I just kind of thought about it and threw it out, but I don't really know everything that you're doing. And you could help me edit this. As far as similarities, our trails are scenic and they have their unique flavor. And I feel like you're trying to work on connectivity, and so am I. Our trails are great for us, locals, and for visitors coming through, and we're getting both of us, visitors and locals, off of the roads. We have a tourist-based economy here, and we're probably more in need of economic boost, especially up there in the North Country. So bringing something like this can help boost the economy. And I guess the other thing we have is bicycles are welcome here. We've got our Darrow Bike Fix-It stations that's welcoming. Bring your bike, fix anything, make sure your bike is good, and enjoy our trails. Here's some of our differences that I think I see, but again, I need your help to see if this is if I barked up the right tree or not. I'm tending to focus on dirt trails. We don't have paved rail trails up here. We probably never will, because it causes problems for the snowmobiles. A paved trail will melt the snow off faster or ice it up faster. So a hard packed stone dust surface is more likely to be what we use. So we are more focused on dirt. And from what I see from you, you have paved rail trails and canal trails that you're linking together. We have a little bit of recreation path. I notice on your maps you have a number of them, but I don't know if they really fit into your connectivity plan, but I'd be curious about that. With yours, a road bike, any bike is okay. On ours, a road bike would be not great because the surface has got issues. So gravel, hybrid bike, mountain bikes, maybe a little overkill, but something along the line of gravel is really recommended. In yours, someone with mobility devices, some mobility challenges, a paved bike path is certainly better. Ours would, it'd be much more of a challenge. We are more rural and remote. You're more suburban, I think, and we're probably in more economic need of having these, cyclists come up and spend some money in this area. So anyway, this is just some fodder for some discussion. I'm gonna just ended up here with a little bit of a summary here that I've stitched together these roads and trails in any way possible. I've tried to be off-road as much as possible, but in like that one place, I had no choice at this point. So I'm on the road, and we are building, the Bureau of Trails is building rail trail, but we are advocating it for that and providing match funding and grant writing to get it to happen. Connectivity, I think, is huge for attracting people and for locals. You're running these trails through the towns, and you give a lot of people a chance to have a trail close to where they live. Trails like this are great for the day trip and for these longer tours, longer vacations. And then for us, this North Country Welcomes Bicyclists program just indicates that, we don't only do ATVs and snowmobiles. We are willing to bring bicyclists in And it has been a success. I do have lodgings that say that they are surprised. They have so many bicyclists that come in to stay with them overnight. And that's it. My supporters have been that New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, the fund that helped me get going with the publicity, and the fund that helped our North Country Welcomes bicyclists. The two bike clubs that are close to where I am here have donated to me also for this project. And early on, the National Park Service has a Rivers and Trails division, and they were helpful. It wasn't a monetary grant; it was an information, it was a support assistance grant. And they had some key words and phrases and key guidance for me when I was kind of not really sure what to do. And then we do have people that enjoy it, and they're supporting us, whether it be with a donation or out there to help us do litter pickup or just help out with the promotion and publicity. So there we go. I'm all set. That's it. And I would love to have some, to hear from you and share some questions. So I'm going to stop my share here. And hopefully it come back to you. Okay.
Well, thank you, Mary Ann. That was really informative and enlightening. And we have a few questions that have come in. So
okay, great.
And some thank yous, fabulous presentation, absolutely. And now we want to write it. Hold on, just going up to the questions. So somebody asks, when is the best time to ride the trail? Obviously we have dogs, sled dogs, even in the winter, but what would you recommend in terms of bicycling?
Well, it really can be ridden, or I should say, it really can be enjoyed 12 months of the year. It just depends on what you like. I would say if you want to bike it, the end of April, it can be a little bit of an adventure, but it's really wonderful because the things are, the trees and everything, the green is just starting to come out, but you can still see through all the trees. So you've got really nice views. May and into June, the flowers are blooming. If the wildflowers just go crazy, the lupin fields in the middle of June. It's kind of like peak season, about 2 to 3 weeks in the middle of June for that. Summer can be, as anywhere else, hot and humid. But if you get a thunderstorm or something, at least you're not going to get freeze to death, hypothermic. Fall, oh my gosh, the fall foliage on this, to be surrounded by the colors as you bike. And as the leaves come down, again, in late October, early November, if you get the weather right, you've got these views again through the trees. Then I'd say, wait until snow and put your cross-country skis on. The problem is, with the climate being kind of finicky these days, the snow conditions can be finicky. So like right now, it wouldn't be great. It'd be great walking it with microspikes because it's kind of crusty. If we get another snowstorm, it's good. After a snowstorm, it's delightful. And the snowmobile clubs groom the trails. They flatten out the snow. They make it, they don't put tracks down for cross-country skiers. They just flatten it. And you can go out there, you could skate ski it, you can classic ski it. But again, if it rains during the night and freezes up the next day, the snowmobile clubs don't groom every day. So it's a little more, kind of difficult. I would say, for biking and stuff, if you go between May and October, that would probably, you really can't fail.
Is there, while we're on that topic, it's a multi-use path. Have you seen nice coexistence amongst the different users, or are there any points of tension between snowmobilers and skiers, or any of the various methods?
Right. This is always an issue. We're kind of lucky. The section on the Ammonoosuc Rail Trail from Woodsville to Littleton, it's about 20 miles. It doesn't connect to anything else. So the ATVs that are on that trail are not part of the 1,200 mile system of ATV trails that is all over the area. So it tends to be the locals that are on there. And there's a rental place. So you have the leader and the little ducklings and the sweep at the end, and they're all being very nice as they go through. So I have not had problems because it's not the real wild and crazies. Those wild and crazies on the ATVs are going to be in the Gorham area. Gorham is the southernmost point of the 1,000 miles of ATV trails that go up to Canada, into Maine, all over the place. What a thrill. But it's southernmost point. So we have 1 mile of trail right now that we share with them. So that can be a little dusty, but they see you, and you stay to the side, they stay to the side. So far, it's good. The trails are open to all of these uses. So luckily with the presidential, only that 1 mile is shared. The other 19 miles are non-motorized. In the winter, there's going to be snowmobiles everywhere, and you can hear them coming, and you can get out of the way. And typically, so far, knock on wood, I've had no issues or complaints. So it's, you never know who's out there, but typically it's okay. Again, a lot of the real yahoos that want to go crazy, they're not going to be on a rail trail. That's snowmobiling 101, ATVing 101. They want to go where it's a little crazier. So I think they use the trail to kind of get from one trail, run on the rail trail, and then get off of it. So you see more use in certain sections between these connector trails. So I'm not really worried about it at this point.
Good. We have a question here about grant writing. So clearly you've been very successful at obtaining grants that have made a big difference in all sorts of ways to providing information and services, all sorts of things. So somebody asked, did you write the grants yourself? Did you hire a grant writer? And would you be willing to share samples of successful grant proposals? Grant writing is something that comes up all the time. And who's going to do it?
Right. I did the first ones all by myself. I'm not the best writer in the world, but I think I had a good topic. I spent a lot of time on it. I probably, wrote, rewrote. And, then you realize that, oh my gosh, there was a 300-word limit. Like, oh, so you rewrite it again. Yeah, I was successful with that. It worked out well. So I didn't hire anybody because I didn't know who to go to. It just worked. So I'd be very willing to share what I have done. I now, with the board, one of my board members has written grants in the past. So he's the one that kind of takes the lead on writing this stuff, but it's a joint project. We have certain goals. We have certain almost, keywords and phrases that we use, we try and put in there. We've received a grant from the AARP. Okay. Not much, $1,500. And we used it for benches. To put a few benches. So Presidential Rail Trail has 2 benches and 19 miles. And, maybe people would like to sit down. And our deal was, as we get older, maybe we want to walk a mile and then sit down, take a break, and then walk a mile back, or then maybe walk another mile. But right now, if you wanted to sit down, you sit down right on the trail or in the mud. So having the benches was kind of a cool thing. And it was a lot of grant writing for $1,500, but we got it. We got a grant also from our local electric company, the New Hampshire Electric Co-op. We wrote a grant for those Darrow Fix-It stations for a couple of towns that the co-op covers. And we were able to say how we're bringing in business and stuff, and we got the grant. We have a grant application going now to a local bank. Same thing, a bank that's close by to the trail, and we're asking for help for this North Country Welcomes Bicycles program. So I'd be willing to share any of these so you can see how we did it. It's, I think my advice is you look very carefully at the grant application. What is it they're trying to support? Is it business? Is it health? Is it whatever? And target what you want toward that particular thing. Every paragraph that you write is focused toward what they want. That seems to have worked for us. Again, I'm not a professional at it, but right now we've done very well on the grants. And again, it's we're kind of that area. See, I live just south of that area, just north of us. They've gone through a lot of economic hardship, and anything that brings in a little bit of business, like these cyclists would, is attractive. And in your case, I think, you know, getting people off the road, that's attractive, because you have a lot of cyclists that are on the road, and it just, you know, there's just too many cars now. So, you know, going that route and being welcoming to bicyclists, by being off the road, and you know, maybe, you know, having various lodgings and things be particular to inviting cyclists. They're ones that are right on the pathway. You can, you know, exit the pathway and go right up their stairway or their sidewalk and be right there. I do remember staying in a place once in Falmouth that the Beach Rose Inn, I think it's gone now, but it was right there on the path. So of course I was going to use that.
Great. I'm going to pick that up in a second, but here's a comment. Please tell us your email. So if, with your permission, I would share that in the chat. So we
right
can
ahead.
reach out to you with questions. Some of us are helping support the Friends of the Bourne Rail Trail, which will connect Falmouth through Bourne to the existing canal pathway. I was just telling Marianne what a wonderful job the Friends of the Bourne Rail Trail have been doing. Love the presentation. Thank you. So I will type that in just a minute.
Great.
So a quick follow-up to what you said. I took note that, you know, the economic part of this is really important to get local businesses on board, to get their support, and for instance, you said that you know, part of you were very specific about what it takes to be a bicycle friendly institution, whatever, bike racks, bike storage. So is there anything you can tell us about that? Because not every hotel, inn, whatever, has those facilities yet. So how do you clearly built a very strong coalition, and it takes work with these various partners. So what has been the economic impact? Has that then, you know, what motivated local businesses to make accommodations to make it actually friendly?
Yeah, you know, it was interesting. I think one of the best things that I did was I went into the, you know, the reception area of the little motel or the B&B, and I had my brochure, you know, with me, and I told them about what I was doing, and I told them that I had a assistance grant from the National Park Service. So, I mean, the assistance grant, like I said, didn't have any money, but just being able to say that we were being supported by the National Park Service, that's something they knew about. And then that kind of wove into the bicyclists. And would they be willing to carry our brochure? Would they be willing that I put their name on my website as a place where bicycles could come? I was never refused at all. Again, I think they're kind of desperate for lodgers. The campgrounds too were excited about it because, you know, cyclists are pretty easy. You know, the little tent sites are easy enough. So it just worked. I told them that I was copying the programs from Quebec, the Bienvenue Cycliste, and New York State. It's Bicycle Friendly New York is what they call it. And they have the same thing. They have in their maps, they show you where to stay. The whole Erie Canal is full of it. When I did the Erie Canal Trail last year, I'm checking into a hotel and there's a little plaque on the side that says Bicycle Friendly New York. And here I am right up at the front desk. I've got my bike right next to me at the front desk. And they had a place for me to put that bike. And some of the places have old towels and old rags because they know that you're going to have to, you know, kind of clean up your bike. And they say, you know, if you need to clean up your bike, I got this bin of old rags for you. And so there's not a lot of things that the cyclists need, but it's those little things that really matter. And you know, the biggest thing is having your bike in a safe place. Having it right there in the motels are easy because you can just roll it right into the room. But a hotel that has, you know, 3 flights of stairs, one that was in there had an elevator and you could put the bike in the elevator and still bring it up to your room. So they were just kind of interested in our business.
So they weren't necessarily adding infrastructure themselves, but making those accommodations.
That's right. They would say, oh, I have, you know, the old garage in the back, or we have a barn, or, you know, one place has some antique cars, and they said, oh, you just put it, you know, we have a big garage and we have all the tools that anybody would ever need. They can just, you know, lights, because we work on our cars all the time. They can put their bikes in there and they can work on their bikes, you know, alongside us working on the cars. So that there was that welcoming thing. I think it was a little surprising that it was something very new. I think they, you know, hosted snowmobilers and ATVs. There are some bike tours that go through from Canada and other places, you know, they want to come in and bike the notches. So they've seen bicyclists before, but they've never seen them come through as often as they do now. I think
that's only going to grow too.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, there's been over 600 that have received their patches so far.
Great. Another question, what are the elevations on the route? What are we talking about for, you know, bicyclists and ability?
Right. On the map, I don't know if I can show you, it's really not that much because of using rail trails. The people who can see that elevation profile there on the map, it's about 2,800 feet total for the entire route. And you think, okay, the mountains up here, right? Wouldn't it be like 40,000 feet of elevation gain? No, because following these rail trails, the surveyors and engineers of the time followed the river valleys. They took the easiest way to get these trains through. And if you can get a train through across the state, you can ride the bike. So the hilliest part of our entire route is that section on the road, because the rail line used the easy route, right? They got the river and the rail line, and then it's hilly for when they had to put the road in. So that brings me down to Granagere on that one. And the other part of the map, it looks like there's a grade going up and a grade going down. That's the rail trail. It's just a long, slow for the train ride up the hill. There was, but for bikes, it's no big deal. It's, you know, what is it, 2 or 3%, the maximum, I guess, for railroads. So it's a steady ride for a bicycle. It was tough for the trains. I remember hearing someone say that up in Randolph, the train would leave half its car down in Gorham, bring half of the logs up, leave them, go back down the engine, go back down and pull the other part up, and then continue on its merry way. But it worked. So we have the advantage then, because we don't have to climb the notches. Some people want to do that, and they write to me and they say, oh, you know, I want to, can we connect to Conway? You know, can we do the Kangamangas? And so I send them back. Yeah, here's the map. Here's you can be my guest. You want some climbing? Dirt road climbing. I can give you some dirt road climbing too. That I'll tell you, for myself is the dirt road walk, pushing the bike.
Yeah, that's great. Another question is, how long is a continuous section that is paved and easy?
Oh, I would say the 19 miles from Shelburne to Bethel is on a paved back road, and it's really quite easy. There's a few little, you know, humps on there, but in general, it's really delightful because it's following the river. The way it goes there is there's Route 2, which is the main road, the busy road, the logging trucks, the camper vehicles, the traffic, everything, you know, all that 2-lane, you know, and then the river, or no, the road, the active rail line, because that's why I can't use rail trail there, active rail line, the river, and then North Road, which is north of everything, of all of that. So the only people on North Road are the people who live there, which is not a lot. And, you know, maybe some motorcycles who know that it's a nice road, and then the bicycles. And it is that 19 miles to go from Shelburne to Bethel is a common ride for my bicycle club. We go up there 4th of July weekend, you know, Labor Day weekend, when the valley is nuts. We go up there and we ride North Road because there's nobody on it. The busiest days of the year. So I would recommend that as a paved section to enjoy.
We have all sorts of information. I'm going to pose one final question here, which may have been answered within your talk, and I don't know if this person is still here and can let us know. The question was, what bike do you recommend for this trip? Well, you got into that, so I don't know if that person's seeking more specific information, but you said
they might have asked
gravel bike or hybrid, right?
Yeah, they might have asked it before I covered it. Yeah, a hybrid is okay. I think it's tires that really matter. A mountain bike is probably a little overkill, but it works. If you don't feel as skilled on dirt, you take a mountain bike because you'll be fine. If you feel really skilled on dirt, you can probably get away with 32 millimeter tires. But I would say 40 millimeter tires or a little more, would get you through. You're gonna ride pavement. You're going to ride bad pavement. You're going to ride, like I said, bad dirt. You're going to ride really nice dirt, really hard packed dirt that's better than pavement in a lot of places. So by having that wider tire, you're ready for whatever's coming up. If they just graded the dirt road in front of you, I've had that happen. The grader's right there. Oh my God, it's horrible. So having that wider tire gets you through. It doesn't have to be very knobby. It doesn't even have to be knobby. Tire pressure is big too. You don't need to have your tire pressure way up. So I've got 40 millimeter tires, and I have about 45, 50 pounds of PSI pressure in there, and that works well for me. Having a little wider tire and a little softer is a little more comfortable too when you're kind of bouncing along and you're out there on the bike all day.
So I take it, final question, that there are bicycle rental stores that can provide these if you don't have them yourself.
Yes, there are. The store in Littleton has rentals, and store in Bethel has rentals. I have a lot of this information on the website. On the website, I think it's kind of key. A lot of people have complimented on our website where to stay, where the shuttle drivers are, who to talk to. Here's the bike shop. Here's where you can get food, all of this stuff. I keep up best I can with trail conditions. So when something washes out, or all of a sudden on the paved road, they decide to close the road because they're going to put in a bridge, and like, oh my goodness, we're running out there and putting up detour signs and trying to find a detour for it. So the website's really good for all of that information, how to do this ride. Yeah. And other rides, I've got other rides. So like, say you stayed in Jefferson and you went out and back on the Presidential Rail Trail, but you want to do more. Well, there's other routes that are road routes or a combination of road and dirt routes that I really like. And so I thought they need to be out on the website too. So someone could, maybe stay in the B&B a few nights and do day trips out of that B&B, part on the Cross New Hampshire and part on these other rides.
Well, thorough doesn't even begin to describe what you've created there in terms of the website, your own information, and the fine attention to fine detail from the people who deliver meals to the micro to the macro and back. So thank you so much for a talk that was really enjoyable and extraordinarily informative. And hopefully we here on Cape Cod will take that as a cue and learn, take the lessons that you learned and the successes you had to create something that we have here. So I can attest that Marion is very responsive to emails. And again, if you haven't been to that website, there's so much information there. Thank you, everybody who participated. Thank you again, Marianne, so much for your wonderful work creating that trail. I can't imagine that there's anybody who's on here who doesn't want to head up there. So maybe you'll be seeing some of us, and we hope that we can welcome you back to Cape Cod. So
well, and really, please email me any questions, because we don't have a lot of time tonight to keep talking. I could keep going on and on forever. Email me, call me. I'm more than willing to share. The person who's interested in the grant stuff, email me, let me know. I'll send you some samples so you get an idea of what we did.
That's great. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording. Marianne, you can stay on for a second. So thank you, everybody.